Hey there, hi there, ho there, and hello there, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where we discuss the joy and excitement of UofL women's athletics with you on a kind of overcast but nice fall. Yes, it is fall morning here in Louisville. Events going on, and some good things have happened during the week for the three major sports we'll cover today. Uh, Field hockey, of course, volleyball, definitely. Women's soccer was also in action. So we'll have all that for you, and who knows what else will pop into these crazy adult brains of ours as we bring you the show. But indeed, we are here to bring you that show. And as we like to do at the start of the show, we kind of catch up with our participants today, as it'll be me, Jeff, and Case on the broadcast with you. As mentioned earlier in today's article, Daryl is out being a loudmouth out at the fairgrounds, the Louder in Life concert.
That's what they call them.
Yeah, loudmouths.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's better than Silent Gus's, huh? I mean, there are some pretty loud bands out there. I was looking at that lineup there, and I even remembered some of the bands that were playing out there. So, how about me?
Yeah, interestingly, some of the people that I've heard from that live in the area said that Bourbon and Beyond was much louder than Life, somewhat ironically.
So fewer people there to soak up the noise.
Yeah, is that it? Okay, I don't know.
What it probably is if we get into the physics of air, hot air, it's easier for the or hot dry air is easier for the sound to travel through, doesn't it as much?
Yep.
Both pose pretty philosophical questions here. Bourbon and Beyond. What is beyond bourbon? Unconsciousness and then sleep? This kind of makes me wonder, or staggering about. And then eventually you get louder in life if you've had enough bourbon?
Some of the old fashions that some of the restaurants around town pretend are that cocktail are beyond bourbon, I think.
Old fashions. Oh my goodness, it's been a while.
I will say I had a canned old fashioned on the flight back from the West Coast.
Sorry, what?
And it wasn't bad. It actually wasn't that bad. I mean, it wasn't like spectacular, but it was quite drinkable.
I don't even know what canned, like what.
Yeah.
What they put it in a can?
You just mix, you get your bourbon and your orange and whatever.
Sure.
And mix it up and can it. And it was drinkable.
You didn't drink it straight out of the can, did you? Hopefully you
No, they poured it into a
there
cup,
you go. I was going to say,
yeah.
That's an interesting concept. I've seen that. The Jim Beam does some of their stuff like bourbon and Coke and stuff like
that's becoming a more common thing to take drinks and even mixed drinks and can them, and it's not bad. I gotta say,
it used to be in a day. You'd carry your 6-pack of beer with you wherever you went. As I can see you toddling off now with a 6-pack of old fashions.
Right.
That would be fun to see you after the 6-pack of old fashions too. But,
I mean, I've had better old fashions, to be clear, certainly, but it was not, for something that's in a can that you can, like you said, is portable, carry with you if you're out someplace at a music festival, and I could see it being a pretty nice thing for that. So
if you're in an old fashioned mood, I guess,
or you're on or if you're on an airliner traveling halfway across the country, I mean, it was decent for that.
Yeah, because you can't really expect the.
Yeah, you're not going to have a full mixed drink.
The stewardess back there at the bar mixing up an old fashioned for you, just like Grandpa used to make. Right now, it's crack this can, pour it over ice, and hand it to him. Maybe he'll shut up. But that's going on with Daryl out there drinking old fashions is louder. No, I'm not. She's probably out there having some fun though.
I've had some really good cocktails they've got. Last time I went, they had like this nice speakeasy situation, which was also great because it was the only air conditioned place you could go. There was a line to get in.
I can imagine.
But they had pretty good cocktails there. Yeah. Like a cigar smoked old fashioned and something else, I think. But
well, there you go. I mean, it's a good drink. I would talk about my old fashioned experiences, but unfortunately I don't remember many of them because they tend to go down so smooth. And after a while, you're just kind of out there la-di-da-da-da.
That is a danger of that drink. It is very drinkable.
It will sneak right up and sit you down and say, "Shut up! I'm in control now."
Yeah.
Okay. But so that's what Daryl's into, Jeff. Our good friend Case is out taking photos at the football game today.
Oh,
Jared?
that's Jared, not Case.
I don't
Okay.
take very good photos.
I
I take okay ones, but
here I am 5 minutes in, and I've already had my first faux pas. I guess there must be
a faux pas, if you will.
a faux pas.
Uh,
They're pretty common. Good one there. Must have something to do with Roger Federer
that's all
retiring.
right. I got one queued up for Case here, so
Oh, yeah. Worst case scenario? No,
yeah.
no, that's not right. But yeah, Jared is out there at Cardinal Stadium today taking photos of the football game that happens at noon, although we don't cover that here. The Cards are playing South Florida at Cardinal Stadium. What do you figure, 40,000 on a noon game? I don't know. Does that sound about right to you, Case? Maybe.
Yeah, what's the capacity? 63?
I think it holds 63.
63, 65.
I'd be lucky to get 40.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see what it is.
Particularly on a wet day.
I believe if anyone's interested, I think they are showing that on channel 70 on cable. So if you don't have cable, good luck trying to find it. What is they call that?
ESPN
The regional
3.
sports.
No, I think they took it off RSN. I think it's ESPN 3 only now.
And 3 with just the streaming.
Oh, did they?
It says RSN still on the calendar, but I could have sworn it was ESPN 3.
I thought that.
I wonder if it's.
Maybe
Surely it's not carried on both, because Fox Sports wouldn't give that up.
TV, RSN. Yeah, TV just says RSN.
I know.
But it has so I bet what it is. So the watch link goes to ESPN. I bet what it is it's going to be on RSN, but then the replay will be available on the ESPN site.
Maybe
that could be a possibility too on that. So.
Yeah.
But I was thinking it was going to be on 70, but once again, I could be wrong on that.
Well, if it's on RSN, then I don't have to worry about being angry at it because YouTube TV doesn't have Bally Sports, so I won't be able to watch it.
Yep.
So anyway, if you're into football, as soon as our broadcast is over, you can jump over and try your luck on channel 70, and if not, then go to ESPN 3 to watch the football Cards participate against the Bulls. But as we like to do, we're catching up with the guys here a little bit. I'll kind of fill you in on what's been going on with me a little bit here as I've been going through the joy and excitement of having a bathroom redone from basically floor to ceiling. We're having a shower put in. We're getting a new vanity, new toilet, yada, yada, yada. A back door where I can escape from in times of crisis. No, I'm just kidding there. No back door. But so if we hear any noises in the background today, including Sonia coming in grumbling about not having enough tile, things of that nature, then understand it for what it is. I've warned everybody, hey, I've got my podcast here, so let's try to keep it down a little bit. But you know how that goes sometimes with common labor construction.
If you hear banging in the background, just consider it a percussion track.
Exactly.
Get a backing track.
Yeah.
Yeah, me trying that for Santana on percussion.
Yeah.
It works out well. But that's got it for me, guys. Anything major shaking in your all's worlds? I know, Jeff, you were a traveler.
I did last weekend. Went out to Stanford, Palo Alto, and flew into San Jose to watch the Cards play out there. Also, I work in IT world, computer networking, and Stanford as a school and Palo Alto as an area, and really all of Silicon Valley has just had an outsized influence on my career and technologies that I work with. So it was a little bit of a pilgrimage for me to go out there. I've been in Silicon Valley before, but to go specifically to Palo Alto and Stanford and see those places was kind of nice. But went to the match Saturday night against Stanford and was absolutely dumbfounded at how 2,500 people in Maples Pavilion could be that quiet. It was like I wish that Louisville's crowd in Allen NFC Arena would be more hype and upbeat and loud and cheering than what they are. But man, Maples made us look like Mardi Gras.
Which is saying something because the UofL crowd is decent.
Yeah.
You
But
want them to be better, but I mean, they still are
right,
pretty good. I mean,
yeah,
it's a
but
good environment to
man,
have a match in.
they they put the graphic up on the scoreboard, get loud, cheer, whatever, and people would cheer, right? And then that graphic would leave the scoreboard, and within a second, and I actually kind of timed this once or twice, within a second, the whole place you could hear a pin drop again. It was like, come on, folks, you gotta cheer for your team better than this. Oh, it's bad.
Did they have their pep band present like Miami did?
No,
No pep band.
no.
Did you see a tree
Now,
spotting anywhere?
no mascot there. Now, what I will give them is, they were not in session for school, so students were a little scarce. So I will give them that, but I think they start school Monday.
They don't start until 2 weeks after Labor Day.
They don't do semesters. They do
3
quarters.
weeks after Labor Day.
They do quarters. So yeah, they have a different schedule. So yeah.
Oh, that is
So
interesting indeed.
yeah, so a lot of flying to go to one volleyball match, but it's fun to get out there and do that. And I was struck from a professional perspective, just riding through. I used Lyft while I was out there, riding through Silicon Valley. And normally you see all these buildings with all these tech company names on them, various .coms and stuff. And most of them were blank when I was out there. It was shocking to see. It kind of helped me understand why so many commercial real estate folks are just losing their crap about work from home, because you normally in Silicon Valley would have seen building after building of .com companies, and there just were I saw maybe 5, and those were like Microsoft, Intel, Google, the really big ones. That it was shocking to see.
It's interesting indeed, because one time you figured that was such a huge part of things, but I guess the stay at home, work at home has picked up a lot of speed.
Ultimately, I think it's for the better in a lot of ways, but it was interesting to see for sure out there.
Yeah, especially in the heart of where a lot of that comes from too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Interesting. Case has been talking about bricks this morning a little bit, and so we'll let him kind of follow up on that as he's decided to dispose of 800 bricks that he has pulled up from his yard. He just doesn't know where approximately 700 of them may end up.
Yeah. Probably 150 of them were completely buried in the ground, so they were even more fun to get up. But getting the house painted this fall. Got some masonry work that needs to get done before that. And when we were on vacation, the guy was like, well, right before we left for vacation, the mason was like, yeah, I think I could start maybe next week or the week after. We're like, well, you need power and we won't be there. So no, you cannot come then. But maybe he was going to potentially start today. Looks like probably Monday. But that meant as soon as we got back from vacation, it was time to finish what we'd started in ripping up the rest of that brick patio, and now it's done. And now I just have a pallet and a pallet and 3 or 4 straps of bricks to try and get rid of. So if anybody needs any, I've got them. But,
hey, that's right. Jump in the comment section of Cardinal Couple if you want 700.
If you want some red brick,
yeah,
I got you.
And most of it's still in
no
pretty good
claims.
shape.
Yeah, I mean, I mean that is whole bricks only. So I have probably a few dozen more that are, partials. But yeah, I make no claims for their quality or their consistency in size or material type or any of that. But there's a bunch of them. So
he's got a disclaimer. He's good to go then. Okay, if you want bricks, leave Case a message at the Cardinal Couple website, and we'll direct you in the right direction to get in touch with Case on how to get those. And bricks. Yeah, bricks. Let's do bricks. Let's do them. But we have other things going on.
If you're on the women's basketball team, don't listen to that statement.
Absolutely, Jeff Wallace would probably tell his players, do not listen to the 924 broadcast of Cardinal Couple. They're talking about bricks.
No, they can
one
come
on
get
this
these
team
bricks so that way they don't need any bricks during the season.
Okay, yeah.
I don't. Don't want to see Haley Van Lith holding her head and saying, these bricks, what am I going to do about these bricks?
Weighing them down. They're just wearing them in their shorts pockets.
Yeah, just on their shoulders, Don't come down hard on that girl. You'll hurt yourself. Basketball. Right around the corner, though, folks. Get excited about it. They're actually having a season ticket event Tuesday, where if you're a season ticket holder, you can. And yeah, you may have got the info on this, Jeff. I don't know. Where you get to go down and actually look in the locker room and do stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah. You planning on making the journey down?
I don't know. We'll see.
Was that going to be the Yum Center locker room or the renovated Cooper Center?
No, this is down at the KFC Yum Center downtown. Yeah, you get to go through the locker room, meet the new staff and coaches that they have in there, because they have a plethora of new faces down there. And also you can talk to some of the players in a controlled question and answer session. So have fun with that. If you decide to go, I may pop in. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. We'll see what Tuesday night looks like. And I will hear enough from Jeff Walls and the basketball team throughout the season. I don't know if I need them quite yet to kind of start taking predominance in my thoughts and actions here. So let's talk about something else beside that. We're going to talk about scheduling and Twitter. And since Jared isn't here and the dog ate my homework, I guess that leaves Case in charge here to do that. So take us right on into it, pal.
Yeah. Schedule's looking pretty full, as it will in the mid-fall season. So today, women's golf is already in action, I assume, in the Schooner Fall Classic in Norman, Oklahoma, hosted by OU. That goes through Monday, that event. Football, as we've discussed briefly, taking on USF. That one is at noon. Your guess is as good as ours about what channel it's on. We couldn't figure that out. It's on TV, or you can probably make your way down to Cardinal Stadium if you left right now and still get tickets. If I had to guess. Tomorrow, the Schooner Classic continues. Softball starts their fall ball schedule. They're taking on Bellarmine in a doubleheader that starts at noon at Ulmer Stadium. I believe that's an open event. You could just show up if you wanted to.
Walk right on in, have a seat, and watch.
Yeah.
Yep. Women's soccer is at Virginia, the second-ranked Cavaliers. That one is at 2 p.m. It'll be available on ACC Network Extra, I assume. It just has a watch link. Florida, volleyball taking on Florida State. That one's in Tallahassee. That is a doubleheader on ESPN Primary. That's following Texas and who, Jeff?
Texas Tech. Is that this one?
Yeah. I think that's right. But that one is at 3 p.m. on Sunday. Monday, Schooner Classic continues, and men's golf goes to Toledo, Ohio for the Inverness Intercollegiate, which, as they do often with the golf names, they put 2 times and then the location. So Inverness is on the schedule a bunch of times. It's kind of funny to look at if you pop over to gocards.com and look at the calendar. That event continues through Tuesday. Also on Tuesday, men's soccer hosts UNC Greensboro at 7:30. That one's on ACC Network Extra in Lynn Stadium. Wednesday is an off day. Thursday, men's tennis heads to Tuscaloosa for the Alabama Invitational. And they also split as the ITA Men's All-American Championships start in Tulsa on that day. Both of those events continue on Friday as well. Field hockey on Friday begins a 4-game road trip. They're in Charlottesville taking on Virginia, who I believe is ranked number 10 right now. That'll obviously change before that match. Well, may not change, but that may not. The rankings will come out again before then. That one's at 3 p.m. No video listed, but should be available on ACC Network Extra. Volleyball, for some reason, is not showing up with their name. So I assume that this match that just says versus Clemson is volleyball on Friday at 7 p.m.
Yes, I believe that is. Yeah.
In the L&N Federal Credit Union Arena. Yep. And men's soccer hits the road to take on NC State in Raleigh at 7 p.m. as well.
I was trying to think who's travel partners in volleyball with Georgia Tech, because that's who we play next Sunday.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, it's Clemson.
Yep. So that is that for the schedule. Also, we talked about football, or we talked about basketball. Louisville Live was announced earlier this week. Tickets went on sale on Thursday, so you should still be able to get those. Going to be at Slugger Field this season, which I thought it was pretty cool at Churchill Downs, but for some reason Churchill Downs is having one Downs After Dark event this meet, and it's tonight when there's also Louder Than Life and a UofL football game during the day, and
because there's not enough going on in that area.
Yeah,
holy cow!
Sure, why not? But so since there's no Downs After Dark, it'd be weird to have Louisville Live down there. So that'll be at Slugger Field on the 21st of October.
I think it would be neat for that event to kind of move around to some of the different big stadiums. You know, Slugger Field, Lynn Family Stadium. Yeah, Freedom Hall would be good. Lynn Family Stadium. You know, it could be fun to see how it works out in each of those places.
Yeah, I think if they had it at Lynn, they'd have to have it on the turf field. Good luck getting permission to build a basketball court out on their real field.
Yeah, that might be a challenge there. That's fair.
It could be a little, I
don't think they're gonna fly with that one. But as for the Twitter accounts, iTweet is at Best Case Scenario, BST Case Scenario. Polly is at Cardinal Couple. Jeff is at Card Couple Radio and at Jeff McAdams. Jared is at Mr. Anderson Jared. So all of those pictures and more, the ones that you see on the site, you can see all those and more ahead of time if you follow Jared on Twitter. And Daryl is at Daryl Faust 4. So as always, you can check out the right side of the Cardinal Couple website and see all the Twitter lists for all the sports and for us and for some other random accounts.
And certainly Jared did had yeoman's duty last night over at field hockey. I was unable to get to the actual live field hockey match due to my obligations here to babysit the house while Sonny worked in the bathroom. Guys bathroomed. So Jared actually had to do the post-game interviews as well as take the photos for the game. And he got a chance to get the always loquacious and somewhat ambivalent Justine Sowery, who was happy yet not happy with their win. Such is life, right? But also got freshman Jane Ramsey for the first time case in front of a UofL based interview after she scored both goals in the Cards win. We'll get to that a little bit later on in our discussion today, but it was interesting. For the longest time they did not give Ramsey credit for the first goal, I think it was. And then all of a sudden I get this text from Lori Accordi. Ramsey had both goals. No more.
Yeah, I think it might have been that second one. Like you said, we can talk about it a little bit more later. Yeah. But it was a corner, and she had taken the corner, and then Tutors had taken the shot, and they ultimately credited it as a deflection tip. So that must have been where that confusion came from.
And as Sowery said afterwards, she was way out of position for it. So I said, if you're going to be way out of position, at least you can do something productive like score a goal.
Yeah.
So, and she did. So there you are. But hey, we're going to start with volleyball today because they're actually number 2 in the nation. And last night we're down in Coral Gables, down in Miami, to play the Canes down there in volleyball action. Cards going in there. They had a little trouble with the 7-4 Canes, but they still came through. And the first set was,
first set was kind of a curb stomp.
Let's just go ahead and turn it on over to Jeff since he's so willing to jump in here and take it in control of it. I'll just leave a quick score of 25-12, 26-24, and 25-23 sweep of the Canes. Take it away, Jeff.
Yeah, and those scores, I think really tell you a lot about how that match went. The first set was really just kind of a curb stomp. Honestly, Miami was kind of coming back at the end to get that, because it started out as 10-1 scoring run. I mean, it was It was a beatdown to start
Was
with.
9-1 and then 16-3.
Yeah, it was just one-sided early on. But Miami started to get settled, got things pulled back together towards the end of that first set, started picking up a few points, got a little bit of momentum, and carried that through the rest of the match. And you had, I think if you just look at those last two sets, you would see some pretty competitive teams there. I think Louisville was the better team, and it showed, but not dominantly. I don't think Louisville played as well as we know they can. But it's going into another team's home court, packed house. They packed that place full. Makes for a tough environment to play in. So
you may be leaving out a little bit of a elephant in the room.
Yeah, I know. I figured that was going to be a point of discussion. So Anna DeBeer did not play. That is kind of probably the big storyline from that. She did go down in the match at Stanford. Landed a little weird, knee kind of twisted and hit the ground. And from what I have heard, it's just a deep bruise. The tests they did on it, X-rays, MRI, stuff like that, were negative. So there's no real significant damage there, but just going to need some time to recover and let swelling go down, let the pain go away. So how long she'll be out is a subject for debate. Sort anywhere from 7 days to 6 weeks. So who knows? We'll see how long that is. I'm sure she'll be chomping to get back on the floor as soon as she possibly can, because that's just the way she is. So as a result of that, credit to Nena Mbane, who came in on the offensive part of that to fill in her shoes. Aiden Bartlett came in on the defensive side of it in the back row. Anna DeBeer is normally a 6 rotation player. They both did quite well in stepping in there. So, in fact, Nena Mbonu, I'm looking at the wrong tab. Let me get the right tab open. 8 kills, 11 attempts for a 636 percentage. That's impressive.
It is.
Yeah. Aiden Bartlett had, let's see, a couple service aces, 7 digs. Actually, no, sorry, 6 digs. Elena had 7 right below her. 6 digs, so second on the team in digs. So, she did well. Both of those players stepped up when they were called on and did well. So credit to them for that.
You go back and what amazes me, and like we mentioned in this first set, Elena Scott goes out and serves for 8 straight points.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing. And then, okay, it's 9-1. That's good. But then Iko Jones comes in and serves 7 straight points. And all of a sudden it's 17-3 here. That's pretty impressive on the serving block. And not only that, but backing up that serve with, obviously making the plays to get that ball back in the server's hands.
And I'll shout out that we only had 6 service aces in the whole match. It wasn't like we were acing Miami, but the serves were aggressive and they put Miami out of system and put them kind of on the back foot so that they don't get a good return shot and don't get a good transition back into offense. So, everybody was looking at service aces versus service errors and just taking that ratio. It just doesn't tell the full story there. So, and I think this is a perfect example of it. We had some really, really good serving, particularly early in that, particularly in that first set. And it doesn't show up, I think, in service aces versus service errors. Because we actually, with 6 aces, we had 10 errors in the match. So from the service line. So,
yeah, I remember that was a point of contention too. And later on, where the Cards did have a little more than you'd like to see as far as service errors go. But Case, this was not a bad crowd down at Coral Gables. I think they said there were about 1,000 in attendance. It looked like at least the side we could see via the broadcast was filled up, and they had their pep band there, which are you listening, UofL? That would be a good idea. Let's start doing that.
They're there on some. They'll be here. They'll be there Sunday.
Yeah. They had a whole section though.
Yeah.
I mean, their pep band looked like our marching band.
Well, wasn't like Westerns though. They took up like 3.
Yeah. So it's always, I think, adds to the excitement and the aura of it. when you're going into a place where you got to not only play against their rowdy fans, but against their loud pep band. So let's see if we can get that thing rolling up a little bit. But hey, Case, this first set looked like gangbusters, and all of a sudden Miami said, "You know what? We're not quite ready to go home yet."
Yeah, and we've seen this situation over the last few years with U of L regarding the crowd of teams when Louisville's coming to town, they're like, okay, this is our big match. This is the one we're going for. If we could win this, that would be huge for us. And so you get a really big crowd, and you get the pep band, you get the whole kit and caboodle to try and give them whatever advantage that they can as the home team. Talk about if you can grab that number one ranking, you get that target on your back. But U of L's been the team to beat in the ACC for a few years now, and so they already have that target on their back once you get to conference play. Miami tried it. Like Jeff said, they really kind of bounced back a little bit in the end of the first set after Louisville had a really big opening, and they went on they were on a 5-2 run. Louisville trying to close out the last set. Miami was, and they really bounced back in the second and kept it close early, including taking a decent lead late. They went up 16-12 before Louisville was able to ultimately recover that and having to go to extra points to one extra point to win that second set. And you kind of thought that after Louisville, weathers that storm, no pun intended, in the second, and you go to halftime, that the third would look a lot more like the first, where Louisville was the better team. I mean, Miami is 7-4, but they were 1-4 in their last 5 matches, so not ideal. But you would think that Louisville would come out in the third and just kind of run away with it, and that's not what happened. So, credit to them for hanging on.
That second set tied at 24, as you mentioned, and then Amaya Tillman got a kill, give the Cards back at set point here, 25-24, and then as Jeff mentioned, Montbonder stepped in and really had some very, very good sets in there, filling in for De Beers. She got the set point from the left side for the 26-24 win. Jeff, for those who may have been worried about De Beers' absence, certainly PK came in and did a good job, and Montbonder did a good job as well to kind of help, fill that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and PK came in later in the match, I think second and third sets, and played. She's in the middle, so it's a different position. She actually came in place of Kara Cressy. But yes, by coming in there and having that offensive presence, I think when you compare PK with Kara Cressy, you're comparing essentially offense versus defense there. PK is a much more offensively minded attacking player, where Kara is a great blocker. 6'6" helps, right?
Which is ironic because Kara had no blocks yesterday and PK had 3 assists.
Well, PK came in fairly early for Kara, so she didn't get a huge amount of time. Kara didn't get a huge amount of time to play. So, but that tends to be how their playing styles are. So by having PK in there, you move a little bit more of that offense into the middle, take the pressure off of Nina on the pin. And although Nina handled the pressure quite well, as we mentioned. So it's somewhat a player like De Beers, you don't necessarily directly replace. You kind of replace them by committee, and a little bit of that last night is what we saw.
As the Cards went into the third set with a 2-0 lead, and once again was in another Donnybrook against Miami Hurricanes. They did actually near the end have a 23-20 lead, and then proceeded to see that disappear as Miami tied it up at 23-23. The Canes still unwilling to go home, but Claire Chaussee stepped up, took the Cards to match point, and then 24-23, and then a hitting error by Miami gave the Cards that 25-23 win and the match. So nice little test on the road for Louisville. Jeff, what do we think about Florida State coming up?
Yeah, I think overall Florida State's the better team, but I think
over Miami, I think you mean.
Yeah. Sorry, yes. Florida State is a better team compared to Miami. Yes, I think Louisville may be a little better prepared for Florida State, and there may have been a little bit of looking past Miami here. Louisville also tends to play to the level of their opponents a little bit, which is natural in sports just in general, but we've seen it definitely happen with this Louisville team. So hopefully a little more up, a little bit more focused in, a little bit more controlled sort of play than what we saw from some last night. Got just a little bit of out of system, a lot of stuff going on like that last night. So want to control it and get into a better groove. Yeah.
To that point, I was just going to say, it seems like in volleyball, it's a lot easier to play down to your opponent, especially when you get a team like Miami that's just all over the shop. And it's hard to be in system if the other team has no system. If they're just kind of like hitting it all over the place and you're trying to play. I mean, the number of assists that, Aiden Bartlett and Elena Scott ended up having pretty significant. Just because not even that Miami was effectively targeting Latharo, just that, the ball just ended up in places that Louisville didn't really expect it to.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's so mobile that she gets to a lot of things that maybe other setters wouldn't typically. So I think that takes us into that. I almost don't want to call it out of system, because when you have Latharo digging and Scott setting, all right. I'm okay with that.
A former setter, right?
Right. We don't really lose a whole lot of playing in system in that situation. So I'm not too worried about that. And Aiden Bartlett is fine in that as well. So in that position as well. So, I don't mind that too much. But it's, when the other team is a little going all over the place, and obviously you've got to react to that. That's the big part of the defense. Is the defense in pretty much any sport has to react to what the offense does. So, when the offense is going crazy, it makes the reaction a little crazy as well. So,
and since we were last on the air with you, of course, the Cards back on Wednesday the 14th went to Kentucky, got a thrilling 5-set win up there against the Cats, and then last Saturday out at Stanford, Louisville volleyball knocked off the Stanford Cardinal 3-1. Jeff was out there to see that one a little bit. And you were kind of commenting earlier, Jeff, about the arena with the figured over 2,000 in there was not as loud as you thought. Maybe
it was almost 2,500 people there, and Maples, to be fair, seats almost 7,500, so it wasn't full, which makes it a little hard. But man, they were just flat as a crowd. I don't know that I've ever seen a volleyball crowd with that little enthusiasm for their team. Again, a little bit I'll extend a little bit of charity to them that their students weren't there because classes weren't in session. But it was pretty rough. I do want to step back to Kentucky a little bit, and let's call this out. That was a big deal, that match, not just because it was a thrilling 5-set match against a big rivalry. That's obviously always the case in matches against Kentucky, but because it was on ESPN. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
That was only the 4th regular season volleyball match on ESPN in 25 years when that was aired, right? That's crazy that volleyball has had that little exposure. And I think a lot of people in the volleyball world looked at that when they announced that as an ESPN, when they lifted it up to ESPN, the flagship channel. A lot of people in the volleyball world looked at that and said, oh, this is a bit of an opportunity for volleyball as a whole. This is probably a bit of a trial balloon by ESPN to see what sort of viewership numbers they can get for volleyball on the flagship channel. And they got over 300,000 people watching it, which is pretty darn good for a Wednesday night, right? And since that match, we've had another 4 or 6, I think, matches announced as being uplifted to ESPN flagship channel. So that includes so that includes our match tomorrow against Florida State, right? It includes our match next Sunday against Georgia Tech, right? And those were the first 2 additional ones announced. So it was like, okay, we now have 3 matches in one season, all on ESPN, and all of them involve Louisville. So they've since announced some others, but and they've made, and both of those sessions are double headers. There's a Iowa has a match, I think, against Purdue, I think, coming up that's going to be there as well. So, I mean, they're doing several of them. I think there's also an interesting dynamic at play here because ESPN does not have NFL, right? NFL is over on Fox predominantly.
And CBS.
In CBS, yeah. But Fox and CBS, but not ESPN.
Right.
ESPN has always struggled to find programming to put up against NFL, right? They're always looking for how they can draw them to. And so I see this as, okay, well, let's try volleyball. Let's see how it does. And this is not a case of where ESPN is expecting volleyball to outdraw NFL, right? That's not going to happen. What they're trying to see is volleyball going to outdraw a crowd than the other stuff that we've been putting on Sunday afternoon opposite NFL.
Sunday afternoon baseball game.
Right, yeah.
Or an MLS game or something like that.
Yeah, I laugh a little bit about this. Is this I don't have to outrun the bear, I just have to outrun you. That's kind of the situation here, right? Volleyball doesn't have to outdraw the NFL. It just, if it's outdrawing the other stuff that ESPN's been playing on Sunday, I think it'll be seen as a success. So let's see.
Or outdrawing the other counter programming, right? I mean, there's other sports channels that are trying to counter program the NFL that they aren't watching. And if ESPN wants to get the lion's share of people that don't watch NFL, so they're trying to do that.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting too, like that match, the first one or fourth one in 25 years regular season, on a Wednesday night, it's Louisville and Kentucky.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's not Nebraska. It's not Stanford. It's not Texas. It's not one of those teams.
Penn State.
Yeah, one of those volleyball teams. It's Louisville and Kentucky because their last 4 matches have gone 5 sets. Like this. It's like, it's tailor-made for a Wednesday night. Nothing else is on. You're at the tail end of baseball season, but not in the last week, not in the postseason. People wanted to tune in, and a lot of people did. And they were treated to a really good match that was very competitive. For some reason, UofL or UK students are allowed on the painted floor, whatever.
It's terrifying. It's not painted, but yeah.
It's actually a kind of plastic wrap there.
I consider the paint to be the playing surface, right? The colored part, and they're on it, and it's like, sure, whatever, that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, it was that situation on ESPN, not just a big, number 1 and 2. Big 12 teams.
Right.
Like, it's an in-state rivalry of the 2 years ago national champion, or are they defending?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago national champion, and then Volleyball, who's
Final Four last year.
Yeah, making a lot of noise recently. So the Louisville and Kentucky both really bringing up the sport in this region and helping to promote it entirely nationally.
Yeah, I think there is also a challenge that volleyball brings to being televised, though, and this is something that's always been the case for volleyball. How long is a volleyball match going to go, right? You can have a volleyball match that's over in an hour and 20 minutes, and they're scheduling 2-hour blocks for these, right? If it's over in an hour and 20 minutes, okay, you got 40 minutes to fill. That's a lot of filler. They can do it, right? They can put some random football talking heads on there and fill that time. That's no big. But on the flip side of that, I've been in a volleyball match that went 3.5 hours, right? So let's take a hypothetical next week of us hosting Georgia Tech at LNFCU, right? Georgia Tech's a very good team. Louisville's a very good team. It's very possible this will go 5 sets, right? We swept them last year, but we also had one of those sets go to 36-34. So, it's very possible this could go to 5 sets, and it could be a long 5 sets. If you see Louisville go 3.5 hours, that's going to overrun this Texas match that's going to be after us.
Yeah, the second match never airs.
Right. It's potentially completely overruns it, so it never gets on at all if they do a real quick 3 set. So, yeah, it's an interesting challenge, and I think a lot of people talk about, volleyball's popular, it should be on TV more, but a lot of people don't recognize that that's a little bit of a challenge for them scheduling.
That was the time variable for sure. Yeah, you never really know positively, but just to kind of wrap up on volleyball here a little bit. Jared and I were also up there taking photos at the UK, and I was sitting at the media row, the proud to say only media representative from Louisville up there for that one. Yeah. And the UK crowd was very, very loud, very electric, very, very boisterous. They were following the cheerleaders' instructions. They were listening to what
They
was
were
going
all doing
on.
that stupid dance, including the
They
team.
were doing the dance. Nobody could figure out what it was, whether it was a version of the Macarena. I don't know.
I don't know what it
I,
was.
I even asked the director of the AC
AVCA.
AVCA sitting
Yeah.
next to me. So like, what's this dance? Have you seen this? She goes, I have no idea. And but it was entertaining, and they had fun with it. But the good thing is, unlike UK crowds we have run into before, this crowd was pretty nice to us after the game.
Yeah.
I actually had a couple people come up and shake my hand and say, "You all have a heck of a team here. Congratulations!" And
Yeah.
I said, "I really can't take credit for them. This is my first volleyball match of the year, and I had to go out of town to watch it. But I had fun with it, and it was certainly good. And plus, they fed us, which is always great.
Yep.
They do nice post-game interviews at UK where they bring in their uh, obviously team and a couple players off their team and their head coach Skinner
Craig
to
Skinner.
talk to you a little bit. And Skinner was very complimentary and very nice. You could tell he was pretty hurt by that loss, but
Yeah.
he carried himself through it too. And then in a rare sighting, we saw the elusive Danny Busboom Kelly go to the podium afterward with two players and talked through a little bit of a post game there, crediting her team, and then letting basically Claire Chelsea and Anna DeBeer cover most of it. But it's nice to see. I'd like to see that happen at more volleyball matches where maybe they do that, and it might maybe get me back out there for a few more volleyball matches and a draw because you get to take care of your media if you really want some good responses on things.
And let's shout out also, Paul, your efforts with Cardinal Couple over the years. You said you were sitting next to the AVCA executive director, I think you said?
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Yeah. And you mentioned Cardinal Couple, and she was aware of Cardinal Couple. She knew of
was
us.
indeed. Yes.
So definitely credit to you, Paul, for your efforts in that and making it a thing that's seen outside of just Louisville. So
yes, and very nice to her last name was DeBoer, DeBoer. And I said, hey, DeBeer, DeBoer, this is pretty cool here, right? She said, you're a Cardinal Couple. I said, yes, I'm part of it. She goes, I pictured a much younger and handsomer man running this. I said, well, that's obviously Jared. He's out on the floor. He's taking photos. But nice talking with her. Nice getting some insights on things. And then also she had a little bit of criticism for sometimes what the camera crews were playing back. Because they're showing this and that, but they're not showing what really happened here, the dig or the set that actually got this whole thing started for the fantastic play you saw at the end. And she said, I'm going to have a talk with some of these camera crews. And she was talking primarily about UK's and ESPN's. But wins for the Cards. They keep winning. Let's hope that they can do the same tomorrow. And we've spent quite a bit of time on volleyball here, so let's kind of jump over a little bit, if you will, gentlemen, and let's talk a little bit about field hockey, who had the Battle of the Border yesterday at a Traeger. IU came in, and the Cards getting 2 goals from a freshman, knock off the Hoosiers 2-0 to continue to hang on to their number 4 ranking. Case had the write up on this one, and it was a case of where the Cards, that old bugaboo that we've knocked back and forth case, penalty corners paid off in this one.
They paid off in one situation. They went 1 of 8. But I wrote about it a little bit in the article today. 1 of 8 is not great. You would like to convert on more than that. But of those 8, only 1 did not result in any shot, and only 1 of the shots was off frame. So you had a couple that resulted in multiple shots. Those rebounds can turn into things. So putting 6 shots on frame on your corner attempt out of 8 corner attempts, that's pretty good, because some of those are going to rebound, which is a bit of luck sometimes about whether you're in the right spot or not. And you want to try and score those, like we talked about. Ramsey a little bit out of position on a corner that she took and then ended up getting a deflected goal. not really sure how you end up there, but she did, and so that works out for Louisville. But those other shots, or those other corners, where they get deflected off the pad, or the defender's stick just barely gets in the way. When you put things in the circle and you put them on frame, then good things happen. Ultimately, like we said, Louisville only got one goal out of that, but they could get more in the future. And on the flip side, Indiana's only real big effort was a series of 5 corners in a row that Louisville just said no, thank you, and were able to keep them out and keep them over 6. So
yeah, it was like Groundhog Day.
Yeah, well, and when you look at the box score, it's kind of obvious why that's happening, right? Because it's like Indiana penalty corner, shot blocked, and you're like, oh well, that was off their leg, so they're going to get a penalty corner for it, and it's a bunch in a row, and that's the way that works out. But if the shot's not off the leg, maybe it goes in the back of the cage. If it's not something else, you'd rather it get blocked and give up another penalty corner than it go in. So, the defense held up. Louisville's offense has been of late much more varied, in the way that we hoped. They've scored 20 goals. They've got 8 different players have scored. 5 different players now have scored multiple goals, with Ramsey becoming the 8th and 5th in those categories, respectively. The offense is kind of coming alive, and the defense is holding up. Sasha Elliott has the highest save percentage in the ACC, and they've got 3 shutouts, and they're outscoring opponents 20-8. So it's hard to find things to complain about, other than the penalty corner conversion rate.
Sasha, of course, coming in as a graduate student from VCU to take over goalkeep for the Cards, and it was a kind of a point of quandary we had before the season started. Actually, just maybe about a month until the actual season started. The Cards don't have any goalkeepers listed here, gang. This isn't good. Is Justine Sauer going to try and revamp the entire world of field hockey and play without a goalkeeper? No, I don't think so. But she did finally get a good one in Sasha Elliott, who has stepped in, Jeff, and I think just been a godsend for the Cards back there, keeping up in Justine Sauer's fine tradition of bringing in goalkeepers. I remember the name Aisha McFerrin, who do very, very good things for the Cards back in goal service. But Sasha's really stepped in, and from the Netherlands also, and certainly done done just an incredible job for Louisville back in goal service.
Yeah, absolutely. Justine Sauer bringing in good goalkeepers is pretty on brand given her background.
Tale as old as time,
right? Yeah. It's so, and also bringing in goalkeepers from Europe and other international students. We got a number of players from Australia. We got a number of players from Europe and Netherlands. There's obviously places where field hockey is a popular sport, and of course Sauer is originally Australian herself, so some of that comes in there as well. But yeah, absolutely credit to Sasha Elliott coming in. Only 8 goals against is pretty decent in 9 games, right? So less than 1 a game in field hockey. That's a pretty decent number. So 85% save percentage. That's pretty impressive. She's doing a great job. She came in, and like you said, on short notice. Felt like very last minute. We don't know how much was in the works behind that, but yeah, absolutely a phenomenal job by a player coming in seemingly out of nowhere and filling a really big hole for us.
And it'll be interesting indeed too when the Cards actually travel to VCU on October the 2nd to take on VCU. Sasha, kind of a homecoming, which she may not get the best of greetings, playing for Louisville now, but certainly back to a place where she had 4 very good years of action for the Rams back then. But just quickly, we'll talk a little bit about Jane Ramsey too, a freshman who was so precious in the post-game interview with Jared. She goes, we were having to talk amongst the freshmen, who would be the first of us to score. And then I did. And so I was so pleased. And then imagine my excitement when I scored the second time. So she has a commanding 2-0 lead over all the freshmen on campus. And let's just hope there's more of that there and she's very delightful. We, as a rule, don't usually like to interview freshmen in post-game situations because they haven't been there before. They're a little nervous. They're a little bit, not quite ready. She handled herself like a professional, and so
Yeah,
we're very, very proud of her and see good things for her in the future, guys.
absolutely. Yeah. Two goals to open up your freshman campaign like that in one game is that's a good start. Took a few games into the season to get it to happen, but it's a good start for it.
Indeed, it was for her. So the Cards, with the nice win there, they'll go on a road trip that actually will get underway next Friday as they will go to Chancellorsville or Charlottesville, Virginia. I'm sorry, to take on the Wahoo, Virginia Cavaliers, and then they'll travel over to VCU for a Sunday match against VCU. So that coming up next weekend for field hockey. We've got just a little bit of time to go here, so let's go ahead and talk women's soccer just a
Oh,
little bit.
must we?
Yeah,
I was hoping that if we ran volleyball so long, we could.
uh, I'm just going to be kind of brief and turn it over to you on this one because the Cards played on the 22nd, which was a Thursday night game where they were at Florida State. They scored a goal against the Seminoles.
They did. They did score a goal. Look, FSU's really good.
Yeah,
They're
they
the
are.
seventh ranked team in the country. They haven't lost yet this season, 6-0-2. Um, and they roundly thumped the Cards. They got off to a great start. Earn a penalty kick in the first 90 seconds. That's usually what you want to do. Um, they score a goal there, and just 10 minutes later, pick up another one to double the advantage. And you're on the road. You're ranked, or you're playing against a top 10 team. Louisville could have bowed out. Um, they hung with it. They earned their own penalty later in the first half, and Maisie Whitsett converted it, which is good to see her back on the field and back to scoring. Um, and then the second half happened, um, and Louisville participated in it starting around the 60th minute. They did not allow any more goals after that. Um, but yeah, it's tough. Of the players that scored for FSU, all of them were scoring at least their third goal of the season. Jenna Niswanger with her third and fourth. Onyi Echegini, maybe. I'm not exactly sure how
And
you
only
pronounce
had
that.
to get you to you as well.
Yeah, scored her sixth, and was assisted by Niswanger. So, yeah, um, it's tough. FSU had 17 shots. They only put 9 of them on frame, but then converted 9 of those, or 5 of those 9 into goals. So, a tough match for Louisville offensively. I didn't get to watch this one, so I don't have much to say about the formation or the performance. Only have the stats to go off of. But FSU with 17 shots, Louisville with just 4. All 4 of their shots were on frame, which is nice. But FSU had 5 corners. FSU got called for offsides 4 times. Louisville had 1 corner and was not called for offsides. So very clear, very evident from that FSU really controlled the ball for the majority of the game. And when you control the ball for the majority of the game and you have a really strong offense, you're going to score a lot of goals. That's what Florida State did. And, Louisville just has to turn around and come home and figure out what's going on offensively. We're unable to score against IU. They pick up 1 goal here, but it's on a penalty kick. They really need to get back into the swing of things from open play and from other set pieces and figure out a way to score more goals, or you're not going to get very far.
And if you thought that sequence was tough, wait till you see what's next scenario. The Cards will go to action on Sunday at Virginia. Virginia, number 2 in the nation. That's a 2 p.m. pass back for that one. Louisville going in there with a 4-2-2 record. They're 1-1 in conference. But boy, suddenly such a tough stretch here with that. You got FSU, and then a couple of days later, you got to go to Virginia and play them down there. I'm sure what will be a rowdy atmosphere. The mere fact that Virginia is ranked higher than Florida State. To me, it's kind of confusing because I've always thought of Florida State as a supreme power program. But at number 2 in the nation, I'm guessing they're pretty good. Case, what say you?
Well, in Louisville, they're 8-1-1. Their only loss came against Notre Dame on the road. Notre Dame's ranked 18th. It was in their last game, so bully for Louisville. They get to play a team like that that's angry about it. They did lose to Illinois to start their exhibition season, which is interesting. But then they drew Michigan, who's ranked number 9. They've beaten number 11 Georgetown on the road. They've beaten Memphis, who's ranked 23rd. They beat them 5-0. Draw against VCU, so that one's just a little in-state rivalry. Former number 2, when Virginia was ranked 7th, they beat North Carolina on the road 3-2. So Louisville's definitely going to have their hands full and have not performed super well against Virginia in the past. So it's not a great position to be in. I'm hoping that, Karen Ferguson days doesn't look at how many goals Virginia likes to score and decide to go with just a really cluttered up back line, because we've seen that not work. I mean, if that's what happened against Florida State, you just got 5 hung on you when you tried to play aggressive defense, and it didn't work. So,
and the FSU announcers were amazed that Louisville had 9 back at times. And it's like, hey, guess what? If you're going to try and score on us every time you got the ball here, maybe 9 back isn't such a bad idea.
Well, maybe it is if they're still going to score.
Yeah, they're going to look score. At it, it's like, they're still scoring. We've got 9 back. What else can we do?
If you're losing, if you are not playing in the midfield at all, then you're just going to give them the ball. They're going to have a ton of opportunities. So I think Louisville just needs to have some trust in their midfield. And if you get burned a couple times, you get burned a couple times. But if you're not able to have offensive opportunities, then you're not going to score. So Louisville might get blown out against Virginia as well, but hopefully not. Virginia's just put up some weird clunkers at times. So we'll just have to see. But like you said, it doesn't get any easier. I mean, they're still on the road at Pitt after that. They come home and host Clemson, Boston College, and Notre Dame, which would be a decent run if they can make something happen in those 3 games, because then they end their season at NC State, at Duke. Senior day, they get home against North Carolina.
We certainly hope for the best, but we certainly understand that there are pitfalls and possible losses ahead. That's the way it goes. But speaking of jumping into the fire, let's go ahead and jump into final thoughts here. As we wind up another broadcast, I'll go ahead and start it out. I just wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to women's golf. There, as Case mentioned at the start of the show, be participating in the Schooner Fall Classic, and has got a new player on the team that came from Center College, in Riley Sutter, who is was an absolute beast in D2, D3 golf in her career at Center and stuff, and now she's up here on the D1 level, getting a chance to show what she can do with the prime programs. She's a great golfer, from what I understand, and maybe will help this Louisville women's golf team get some nice wins as they go on through the various classics and tournaments that they take part in. So go Riley, go! Hit the ball straight, putt well. Jeff, what you got?
Yeah, I said earlier that I had one for Case. A minor correction. To be technically correct, which we all know is the best kind of correct.
It's the best kind of correct, yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Technically, Syracuse is leading the ACC in volleyball right now. So,
but why?
Because they have played 2 matches to everybody else's 1.
See, when I put that, I didn't even look at the schedule, so I didn't really.
Yeah. So most of the conference has played 1 volleyball match. Syracuse played Boston College on Wednesday, and then they played Duke last night. So they've got 2 matches in. So technically they lead, but everybody else has a game in hand compared to them. So, yeah.
It's also really funny that to only have 1 school that has played 2, but I guess when you have an uneven number of schools like the ACC does with 15, that's going to happen sometimes.
Boston College may have played 2 as well.
They're 0-1.
They're 0-1. Okay, so then, all right.
I didn't know if somebody has to be off sequence if there's 15 schools, right?
Yeah, true. Sure.
You know what? They'll fail too.
Look,
I
here's the
got my
thing: Louisville is first in the ACC among teams that count.
Yeah,
Looking at you,
Syracuse will not stay in number one. We'll
looking
say
at
that.
you, Pitt, Georgia Tech, and Florida State all
Yeah.
below Louisville in the standings.
Yeah, Syracuse will not remain in the number one spot. That's not going to happen. So
I certainly hope that the Cards can continue their winning ways, though. That's what we're interested in, and we'll see what happens there.
Waiting for Texas to lose, mostly.
Yeah, and then see what happens with the Longhorns. That's for sure. You just never know. Case, what do you got for final thoughts?
Just refreshed from vacation. Happy to be back. Happy to, be back on the show and enjoying some UofL athletics. I did watch the UofL UK match while I was on vacation. Lindsay was very disappointed when it went to 5 sets because she just wanted to turn it off. But yeah, I was very disappointed when it went to 5 sets because you never want to go to 5 sets when you have a lead and you're the road team. So I didn't like the momentum there, but they took care of it. But yeah, refreshed, recharged, not sunburned. So that was a big plus.
Nice.
And excited for the remainder of the fall seasons and beyond.
There you go. Between that and bricks, you got your work cut out for you. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody listening today to the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast. And we'll be back with you next week at the same time, unless you know something we don't. Until then, everybody have a great weekend and go Cards.